Picture this: a prince who served his country for a decade, created one of the world's most inspiring sporting events for wounded veterans, and walked behind his mother's coffin, while millions watched, now being painted as the villain of his own family story. When NBC's Hoda Kotb asked Prince Harry the simple question, "Do you miss your brother and father?" his carefully crafted response revealed everything and nothing at the same time. But what if I told you that Harry's apparent dodge wasn't avoidance, it was self-preservation? Welcome back to Meghan and Harry Tales. I'm your host Adrian, and today we're peeling back the layers of one of the most misunderstood family rifts in modern history. The media wants you to believe this is a story about an ungrateful son who abandoned his duty, but the truth? It's about a man who chose love over loyalty to an institution that failed to protect what mattered most to him. Let's start with what we know. Harry's relationship with his family didn't suddenly turn cold when he married Meghan or when they moved to North America. The cracks had been forming for years, and understanding this timeline is crucial to getting the full picture. Remember, this is a man who served his country for 10 years in the military, who created the Invictus Games for wounded veterans, who walked behind his mother's coffin at just 12 years old while the world watched. This isn't someone who makes impulsive decisions or abandons family lightly. Recently, when NBC's Hoda Kotb asked Harry directly if he missed his brother or father, Harry's response was telling. He said, "For me, at the moment, I'm here focused on these guys and their families. I'm giving everything that I can, 120%, to ensure they have the experience of a lifetime. That's my focus here, and then when I leave here, I get back, and my focus is my family, who I miss massively." Now, critics jumped on this, saying Harry swerved the question. But let's think about this differently. Here's a man who's learned that everything he says about his family gets twisted, analysed and weaponized against him. Is it any wonder he's careful with his words? The phrase, "my family, who I miss massively," that's Harry talking about Meghan, Archie and Lilibet. Yes, but listen carefully. He doesn't say he doesn't miss his father or brother. He redirects to focus on the positive: his work, his commitment to others and the family he's chosen to protect. Let's talk about what led to this point. In March 2020, Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties. But this wasn't a sudden decision made in anger. Harry has been transparent about the process. He told Oprah that before making any announcement, he spoke with his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, 3 times, and with his father twice. This shows respect, shows he was trying to work within the family structure. But then, as Harry explained, at that point I took matters into my own hands. Why? Because the communication stopped. Harry alleged that Charles stopped taking his calls and cut him off financially. Now, some might say that's fair. If you're leaving the family business, you don't get the family money. But we're not talking about a business here, we're talking about a father and son. Put yourself in Harry's shoes for a moment. You've just lost your mother at 12 years old. You've struggled with mental health issues that you've been open about. You've served your country, dedicated your life to charitable causes, and then you meet the love of your life. But that love comes with a cost. Meghan faced racism in the British press that was undeniable. The couple received death threats. And when Harry looked to his family for support, for protection, what did he get? Silence. Harry said in the Oprah interview, "I needed to do this for my family. This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad that it got to this point, but I've got to do something for my mental health, for my wife's, and for Archie's as well." This is a man prioritizing the safety and well-being of his wife and children. In any other context, we'd call that admirable. We'd call that being a good husband and father. Now, let's address the 2022 meeting with Charles. Royal biographer Angela Levin claimed the Sussexes arrived 15 minutes late, leaving Charles waiting. Even if this is true and we only have one person's word for it, let's think about this reasonably. Harry and Meghan were travelling internationally with security concerns, likely dealing with complex logistics. 15 minutes late for a meeting with your father after 2 years of estrangement? That's hardly the scandal some made it out to be. More importantly, the fact that Harry made this trip at all speaks volumes. He came back to the UK, brought his family, and met with both his grandmother and father. This was Harry extending an olive branch, making an effort to repair relationships. Here's what I find most heartbreaking about this situation. Harry has been consistently clear about his love for his family. In every interview, in his book Spare, in his Netflix documentary, he talks about wanting his father and brother back in his life. But he's also been clear about his boundaries. He's said he wants accountability, he wants acknowledgement of the harm that was done to his wife and children. And somehow this has been twisted into Harry being difficult or demanding. Let me ask you something: if someone you loved was being treated the way Meghan was treated, if your children were being denied security protection, if your mental health was suffering because of institutional neglect, wouldn't you demand better? Wouldn't you expect the people who claim to love you to stand up for you? The narrative that Harry abandoned his family ignores a crucial fact. They were his family first. Charles is Harry's father before he's the king. William is Harry's brother before he's the heir to the throne. The institution may have protocols and procedures, but families should have love and protection. Harry has never asked his family to choose between him and the monarchy, but he has asked them to choose between him and the people who were actively harming his family. And their silence spoke volumes. Now, I want to address something that often gets lost in these discussions. Harry's commitment to service never wavered. Look at his work with Invictus Games, his mental health advocacy, his environmental initiatives. He didn't step back from royal duties because he was lazy or entitled. He stepped back because he found other ways to serve that didn't require sacrificing his family's well-being. When Hoda Kotb asked about missing his family and Harry talked about giving 120% to ensure others have the experience of a lifetime, that's vintage Prince Harry. That's the man who's always put service above self, who's always prioritized others' needs. The fact that he's doing this work while navigating family estrangement, while protecting his wife and children, while building a new life in a foreign country, that takes incredible strength and character. Let's also acknowledge the impossible position Harry finds himself in. Every word he says is scrutinized. If he talks about his family, he's accused of being disloyal. If he doesn't talk about them, he's accused of being cold. If he visits the UK, it's a publicity stunt. If he doesn't visit, he's abandoning his duties. When he carefully answers questions about missing his family by focusing on the positive, his work, his immediate family, he's showing emotional intelligence and media literacy. He's learned that his pain and private moments get turned into headlines and profit for others. Here's what I believe is really happening. Harry is protecting himself and his family while keeping the door open for reconciliation. His careful words, his strategic silences, his focus on the present, these aren't signs of someone who's given up on his family. These are signs of someone who's learned to love from a distance while hoping for change. The brief meeting with Charles in 2022 shows Harry is willing to try. His continued respect when speaking about his family publicly shows he hasn't burned bridges. But he's also not going to sacrifice his wife and children's well-being for the sake of appearances. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this thought. The story of Harry and his family isn't over. Relationships can heal, understanding can grow, and love can overcome institutional pressures. But healing requires effort from all parties. It requires acknowledgement of harm done and genuine commitment to doing better. Harry has shown he's ready for that conversation. The question is whether the rest of his family is ready too. Harry once said that he didn't walk away from his family, he walked away from the British press. The distinction matters. His love for his father and brother remains, even if the relationship is strained. And maybe, just maybe, that love will be enough to bridge the gap. That's all for today's episode of Meghan and Harry Tales. I'm Adrian, reminding you to look beyond the headlines and understand the human story behind them. Until next time, keep questioning the narrative.